Do you ever feel like your paycheck disappears faster than a classroom full of kids as soon as the bell rings? You know what I mean. Somehow you get paid on Friday and by Monday it's like, where did it go? Gas, groceries, random school runs? It's gone. But I started using this app called Upside. And I'm not even kidding, guys. I've actually been getting money back on stuff I was already buying. Just from getting gas and a few everyday stops, I've built up a little stash and now I'm low-key saving it for a vacation. Cha-ching! And the best part? It's easy. You just open the app, claim an offer, and get cash back. There's no extra work. So if your money has been doing the disappearing act lately, especially every time you fill up at the pump, go ahead and download the Upside app and start getting some of your hard-earned money back every time you use it. All you have to do is download the Upside app and sign up using the invitation code Melinda35278, and you're on your way to earning cash back. I'll have the link in the show notes for you, plus the invitation code. Happy earning! Hi friend, are you ready to move into a leadership position? Do you have interests and ambitions that you want to pursue, but feel like you don't know how to take that next step? Maybe you want to start your own coaching or consulting agency. I'm Mel, and I help educators define their career path through correct mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for your career transition. I will show you how to level up your leadership skills, share your expertise in a new way, create impact on a larger scale, and put your leadership in motion. As an educator for over 20 years, I started to feel underused and like I had more to give. I knew when the time had come for me to leave the classroom and affect change on a larger level. Now, I'm ready to help you determine where your talents and skills mesh with your passions and interests. Put your leadership in motion and move into that next phase of your educational career journey. Let me help you define your career path by having the right mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for that next leadership position. So power up and put your leadership in motion. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Mel Van de Voort. Today, I have with me Danny Steele. I have followed Danny on social media for a while, and he's very inspirational, and I thought he would be an amazing guest to be on the show. So welcome to the show, Danny.
Mel, thanks very much. I appreciate the platform here you give to educators, and certainly it's an honor to be with you today.
Yes, and thank you again for being willing to come on. I reached out to you just in the hopes that you would be available because I think you might be a busy person, just like the rest of us. And I know sometimes it's hard to fit those extra things in. So thank you for that. So Danny, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey in education and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Well, I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, and not originally from here, but my wife, who I met in college, was applying to physical therapy school at University of Alabama, Birmingham. And so we came here for her grad school, and we just never left. And it's been a great place to raise our family. When I went to college, initially, my major was sociology. I was going to be a social worker. Probation officer is what I wanted to be. But my sophomore year, my brother gave me a tape recording, one of those old-fashioned cassette tapes. And it was a recording of the 1986 National Teacher of the Year, a guy named Guy Dowd, giving a talk at a conference. And he talked about his experiences in school and the difference that teachers made for him. He talked about the impact that he's been able to have on students as a teacher. And just listening to him talk about the difference that teachers make and the relationships that they can build with students, it made me want to change my major. So I literally changed my major to teaching after listening to that tape. So I got into teaching. I taught history and coached for 8 years, realized I wanted to have a bigger impact on the school, and so got into administration. I was a high school AP for 10 years, and a principal for 12 years, and had the privilege of working with a lot of amazing educators along the way, and got to connect with some really cool kids in the
Right.
schools in which I worked. The last 2 years, I've sort of changed things up, and I'm no longer in the school full time. I'm just looking to get plugged into school districts where I can to continue to add value and support the great work that teachers and school leaders are engaged in.
Yeah, and that's so important because it's a real shame when we have educators, especially building leaders who have been in leadership for as long as you have, and then they just leave and they take all of that knowledge and all of that wisdom with them, and then they just retire, and then that's it. And then it's gone. It's gone with them.
Yeah. So after 12 years as a principal, I was ready to hand off the baton and let someone else lead a school. But I still have a lot of energy,
Mm-hmm.
and I still have a lot of passion for the great work that school leaders are doing and that teachers are doing with kids every day. So I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to connect with you now. I kind of work out of my house now when I'm not
Mm-hmm.
traveling or in a school district. And so I always enjoy the time to connect with people like you, other dynamic educators who still want to keep in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love it too. So you said you're traveling and you're going into schools. So what are you doing when you go into the schools?
So, what I love to do is I love to encourage educators with the great work they're doing. So it might be a convocation talk to kick off the school year. That's one of my
Mhm,
favorite things.
mhm.
I love speaking at leadership retreats, helping administrators think through how we're going to build positive school culture and, get the school year kicked off right. I've also, in the last 2 years, learned I really enjoy supporting principals one on one.
Mhm.
And so sometimes I'm in the buildings just working with principals, coaching on site, or even virtually through Zoom. I love serving as a thought partner, helping problem solve and think through how to have difficult conversations, how to be more effective instructional leader. So those are the things. Trying to encourage educators, trying to support school leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. It is so important. And it's great that you are continuing to use all of that knowledge that you've grown over these last few years and be able to share that and grow those new leaders up with you. My own principal gave me a letter of resignation this morning because he's going to be a head of school somewhere else. And so while my heart is breaking for our school district because he's amazing and we make a great team, I'm really excited for him because now he gets to step into, being the person to help shape the principles that he's going to be over. So,
Yeah, it's hard when you have amazing colleagues who are looking to take the next step, but it's still, you're happy for them to,
yeah,
begin a new journey, begin a new chapter and sort of see what they can become.
absolutely. So, tell us a little bit more. My audience listening is new leaders who are in those first few years of their leadership and they are hungry for information and they're hungry for guidance and that coaching and that kind of stuff. So, what are some of the things that you talk to those new leaders about?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite groups of folks to talk to because I feel like I learned a lot of lessons along the way as a school leader. Can I tell you
Didn't we
about the
all? Oh,
toughest
yeah.
lesson I ever learned?
Yes. Let's hear it.
Mel, it was such a hard lesson. Like it cost me my first principalship that I thought I was going to get. I didn't get it.
Oh,
So
no.
I had been an AP at a high school for a few years, and the principal was retiring. And so I really wanted to become principal. And so I'm like, okay, I'm the next one. I've got dibs
Mhm.
because I've been the AP here. And at one point in that spring application process, I was riding in the car with a principal back from a meeting. And the principal looked at me and he said, Danny, I think some of the teachers see you more as an advocate for students than for teachers. I couldn't believe my ears. That
Mhm.
made, it made me angry. Like, I thought that would be
Right.
a badge of honor. Like, yeah,
Right.
we're here for the
Right.
kids. The adults can take care of themselves. It was really maddening, actually, that that was even an issue. Well, as you can guess, I did not get the job. And so I sort of had some soul searching to do and did a lot of reflection about what it meant for me to be an administrator and what my goals needed to be. So this was my hard lesson. And it was hard because, like I said, it cost me the job. That summer, I realized that the moment you become an administrator, the job changes, the mission
Mhm.
changes, the focus changes. And it doesn't come natural to educators because, like, people get into education because they love kids. They want to make
Right.
a difference for students and build relationships with them and win them over. Well, the minute you become an administrator, what I realized is that the new mission is to win over the teachers, to make a difference for the staff, and they take care of the kids. And as an administrator, that doesn't mean we stop loving kids. It doesn't mean we stop connecting with kids.
Right.
But the mission, the priority is to support the staff and win them over. So that summer, it was like 2000, summer of maybe 2004, I had this administrative paradigm shift. And I flipped the switch in my brain. And I'm like, okay, I am going to be a champion for teachers. And that philosophy is what drove me for the next 20 years in school leadership. And that was a tough lesson,
Yeah.
but that's what, anytime I have a chance to talk to young school leaders or aspiring leaders, I tell them, you will be defined by your ability to support your staff.
Hmm.
And that's just a really, really important lesson for young leaders.
Yeah, it is. And it is really hard to have that mindset shift when you leave the classroom. Even myself, when I got my first principal position, I kept calling it my classroom. I'm like, go to my classroom. No, go to my office, because it is such a mindset shift. And you've been this one person for so long, and that was your identity for so long, that when you do shift, it really is hard to completely shift really quickly and, pivot to be the person who is the advocate for the teachers, because you've been an advocate for students for so long. So,
Yeah. And I'll add that another part of that shift was the importance for me of redefining my light bulb moments. So you're familiar with the concept light bulb moment, right? It's when you're teaching the
mhm.
lesson and the kids' eyes light up,
Yep.
they get it.
Yep.
And that's like the ultimate rewarding moment for an educator. Well, I was a little bit demoralized as a young administrator because I didn't have those light bulb moments, because I wasn't teaching the kids. I wasn't
Right.
seeing the magic happening in the classroom on a daily basis. What I learned, though, is that as an administrator, my light bulb moments were different. I learned
Mhm.
that when I was able to help a teacher in a dicey parent conference and have their back, that
Mhm.
became a light bulb moment for me.
Yep.
I knew I was making a difference. When I'm able to help a teacher with some challenging student behavior, or help them write a tough email to a parent, or just help them move their filing cabinet, across their classroom because we can't find a
Right.
custodian. Those are light bulb moments. Those are moments where I know that I matter to that teacher, I matter in the school building. And I tell young school leaders, if you have your head on a swivel during the school day when you're walking the halls, those light bulb moments are everywhere. There
Mhm.
are moments everywhere to make a difference for the adults in the building, and
Mhm.
obviously also still to connect with the kids. But those
Exactly.
light bulb moments for administrators are just a bit different.
Right. But you still, like you said, you still have those connections with students. And, here in our district, we had a student who was really struggling and had had a really rough year. She didn't feel like she belonged or like she was loved, but she gave the principal a note the other day. And it was just this outpouring of how he made her feel so accepted and so safe and that kind of stuff. So you again, you do have those moments with your students. But like you said, those teachers, or, in my position, I'm the superintendent, so I have my staff that is talking to me about different things. And I had one of my staff members the other day, she's like, you've flipped things upside down here. And like, we're doing a lot of things that we aren't used to doing, but we're going in the right direction, and you're making us go in the right direction. And so again, that was a light bulb moment. It wasn't that, hey, you got the math problem, or you were able to write that paragraph perfectly, but it is that same feeling.
That you're making a difference. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us some more. Talk about, you had mentioned, you know, encouraging and being an inspiration to your teachers and that kind of stuff. So tell us a little bit about that as a building leader. How can you be that person who's the encourager or the inspirer other than helping move filing cabinets and that kind of stuff?
Well, at one of my schools, the first faculty meeting, I gave our teachers a copy of the Hippocratic Oath. And that's the oath that physicians take
Mhm.
when they become doctors about what their professional commitments are to their
Right.
patients and their colleagues in the profession. And I asked them to take a minute and read it quietly and to underline any sort of expressions that resonate with them. And there's expressions, there's lines in that oath that, like I'll remember that I don't know everything. I need to rely on the skills of my colleagues. There's a
Mhm.
line that says, I'll remember that I don't treat a fever chart or a cancerous growth, but a sick human being. And, as educators, it reminds us we don't teach third grade ELA, we teach kids. I
Mhm.
don't teach AP government, I teach
Mhm.
young people. And it has a way of just kind of personalizing the work we do. So we talked about that. And I asked them, I said, if you had an oath as educators, your commitments to your kids, to your colleagues, to the parents, like these core values that drive
Mhm. Mhm.
why you do what you do every day. What would be in that oath? And we talked about it. And then I asked them to write some of those. I asked them to, over the next couple of weeks, to write an oath for themselves. I'm like, I don't care how long it is. It doesn't have to be in complete sentences, but just, don't go to AI, don't go to Chat GPT, like
Right.
make it personal.
Right.
And then I asked them to put it, like outside their door or on a bulletin board or on their website. And then I wrote my own principal oath.
Mhm.
And that was just such a powerful thing to articulate what it is that we care about at the core. Because when the going gets rough, there's going to be adversity during the school year. These are things that keep us grounded, that help us remember our why.
Mhm. Absolutely. I was
So
writing that
that was
down.
a
Yeah. I
that
love
was a
it.
powerful activity for our staff. Another powerful activity that I'll share, this is when I was a principal of a sixth grade school. We had 500 sixth graders. So that's a lot of 11 and 12-year-olds in your building. The beginning of the year, we created a wall of dreams. It was like a homemade whiteboard down the main hallway, 4 feet by 16 feet. So homemade, and I went into each PE class the day before and I said, okay, you guys, students, we're going to come out in small groups tomorrow and I want you to write your dream on the board in a colorful Sharpie. And it doesn't, you're sixth graders. I realize you might not know what you want to do when you grow up, but
Mhm.
it can be something about sixth grade, just something about now. I just want it to be something personal that you really care about. And the students came out and did that. And the dreams that were on that board just blew me away. I
Mhm.
mean, these are 11-year-olds. And so you're going to have your predictable, like, I want to be a professional rapper. I
Right.
want to be a
Right.
professional football player.
Right.
Turns out a lot of sixth graders want to be professional YouTubers. But there were kids who wrote things like, I want to be a loving mother, or I hope my sister gets out of the Air Force alive.
Yeah.
I wish my dad would get out of jail. I had a kid write, I want to do something that means something. Like I'm 55 years old and that's still my dream. I want to do something that means something.
Yep.
And those dreams stayed up there all year. And I would encourage teachers on your way to make copies, read some of those dreams because yeah, we we want to raise test scores. We want to improve student learning. But are there any educators out there that got into education to raise test scores?
Right.
No. We get into education because we want to inspire and empower kids to reach their dreams. And so these dreams just served as such a poignant reminder of why we're in the profession. So, as school leaders, the more we can do to put things out there in the school, in the culture that keep us grounded, that help us remember our why we do what we do. I think these are things that are just inherently inspiring and just are uplifting and bring a lot of sort of grounding to the school.
Mhm. Absolutely. We are going to finish up our conversation with Danny Steele, and I'm excited to hear the last little bit. And I think he's got some stuff that he's going to tell you about at the very end when he gives us his contact information. So let's keep going, Danny. I love these stories, these are great.
Well, yeah, I mean, I loved being a school leader. I loved being an AP and a principal because there were just so many opportunities to connect with the kids, connect with the adults. And it's not just the teachers. I mean, if you're a school administrator, you need to be building relationships with the CNP staff, with your SRO, with the people who run your front office, with the paraprofessionals. I remember I was at a large high school and it was class change. And I was in the stairwell and I encountered one of our paraprofessionals, one of our instructional assistants. And I said, "Hi, Melanie." And as she passed me, she turned and did a double take. And she said, "I didn't know anyone here knew my name."
Wow.
Yeah, it stopped me in my tracks. It took my breath away. It was
How
so
big was your
sad.
school? How big was your school?
1,800 students.
Okay. Well, that can explain a little
And
bit. I'm used to the very small schools,
yeah,
so.
but so, people like paraprofessionals sometimes they do amazing work with our kids,
Mhm.
but sometimes they kind of go below the
Absolutely.
radar. They
Yeah.
don't get a lot of attention.
Right.
And it's easy for them to wonder if any of the other adults know their name.
Right.
And so it was just such a powerful reminder of the importance that we need to build school communities where everyone feels connected, where everyone feels valued,
Mhm.
even people that sometimes sort of go below the radar. I talked about while administrators are here for the teachers, it's still important to keep connections with kids. One of the things that I was most proud of when I was principal at the sixth grade center for years, every day if it was the kid's birthday, I would do a birthday selfie with the principal with him. I
Mhm.
would catch him, in the hallway in the classroom. I would have a little conversation. I'd ask him how their year was going, and then I'd say, "Hey, I'm silly about selfies. Can I take a selfie with you?" And we'd take a selfie. I'd say, "Who do you live with?" "Okay, can I send it to your mom?" And I would send the picture to the student's parent right there from my
Mhm.
cell phone.
Right.
And the parent thought it was the coolest thing ever. It became a really cool tradition. It was an opportunity to connect with these kids on their special day. But Mel, there were countless times I was reminded, we all have kids in our building who are popular. They get a lot of attention. They're the athletes. They're in the band. They're the class clown. They have the charisma, whatever.
Mhm.
But there's other kids that go below the radar.
Right.
They they make good choices. They do the right thing, but they just don't get noticed. They
Yeah.
don't get the
Right.
recognition. And there were times where I would do the birthday selfie with the student, and then they'd go back in their class. I'd be walking back down the hallway to my office, and I'd think to myself, I could have gone the entire year and not had a conversation
Right.
with that kid.
Right.
And that would have been tragic. And it would have been on me
Mhm.
as the adult.
Mhm.
So it's so important that we commit as the adults in the district, as the adults in the building, to ensuring that we don't have kids falling through the cracks.
Yeah.
Kids, or it turns out adults. There's adults that sometimes, like Melanie, don't feel recognized. They don't
Right.
feel seen. We want
Right.
schools where everyone feels seen.
Exactly. One of the things that we do here, and my whole podcast has kind of shifted since I've started. It's shifted a couple of times, but recently I've really started focusing on three systems: leader system, learning, and logistics. So when you're thinking about a leader system to make sure that none of this stuff falls through the cracks, what advice would you give to our new leaders to create a system, or have a system of some sort, so those things, like Melanie, doesn't fall through the cracks, or those students don't fall through the cracks, or not, or that they don't go all year without being noticed?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I think is non-negotiable, and any leader I'm coaching, I will ask them about their leadership team. I think it's I think it's absolutely essential that school leaders, that principals have a leadership team that helps guide them, and it's like they're charting the course of the school as a
Mm-hmm.
team. And it needs to have representatives from every facet of the school, support staff, the different disciplines, different grade levels.
Mm-hmm.
And that leadership team, like as the principal, my 12 years as a principal, I didn't make a single big decision without sort of involving
Mm-hmm.
my
Right.
team. There's never a time where you're not going to make a better decision without getting input. And so that leadership team can serve as a great sort of accountability partner of ensuring that we're really meeting the needs of everyone in the school. There was a time where I had a teacher and we parted ways. And so we were no longer working together. But then I read in the newspaper he'd been named his county's teacher of the year. And it was a huge county.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an article in the paper. They said, "What's your advice to teachers?" And he said, "Teach every child like you're their lifeline, like you're their last chance to succeed."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I shared this with my leadership team, and they said, "We need a project called Lifelines." And so we developed this. Our counselor identified a list of like 60 kids who really just needed an adult advocate. They needed someone
Mm-hmm.
else looking out for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I encouraged the teachers to all go by and sign up for one or two lifelines. And I had some lifelines. And it was not anything formal, but it was a
Right.
way of saying, hey, we're going to go out of our way to care about this kid in an extraordinary way to ensure that they make it this year. And so that Lifeline project is something else that I was very proud of that we did to try to connect with kids who desperately needed an adult in their corner.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I love that you called it something, a lot of times you'll think very clinical or very school, and you call things like at risk or that kind of stuff. And I love that you gave it a different name that really evokes that emotion in the teachers, the adults in the building. So, yeah,
Yeah.
great. Great. I love it. I may have to implement something like that here. I mean, we do have something similar, but we don't really call it that, and it's probably not on the same scale as that, but that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are getting very close to our time. So as you're thinking about something for our leaders, like one last power surge of information that you can give them, or a tip or some wisdom, what would that be?
Well, the two non-negotiables that drove me as a school leader is we're going to always do what's best for kids. And then the second one is we're going to be relentless about supporting our teachers. And so maintaining those two passions equally is just absolutely essential. Oftentimes at the beginning of the faculty meeting, when I come into a new school, I'm like, I've got three really big things that are really important to me. I mean, there's a lot that's
Mm-hmm.
important, but one, we're going to make a difference for kids. Two, we're going to build a school culture where the adults collaborate, not because everyone has to love each other and be
Right.
BFFs, but when
Right.
the adults pull in the wagon in the same direction, kids benefit. And then three, we're going to bring good energy to work. We're going to do our best to have a positive mindset. So I would encourage school leaders to be very clear about what their non-negotiables are. What are their core values? And then wear them on your sleeve. Like, you should be predictable as a school leader. Everyone should know what you care about
Mm-hmm.
so they can predict how you're going to respond and the decisions
Mm-hmm.
you're going to make.
Mm-hmm.
So just clarity around your core values and then how you share them, how you live them out, how you embody them in the school day to day. That's huge for school leaders.
Excellent. Excellent advice. Definitely. Danny, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I've loved these stories and these examples. They're tangible and they can be taken and used immediately. So thank you for that. Tell my audience how they can connect with you.
Sure. Well, several ways, and I love connecting with fellow educators. So I would love getting a chance to connect with any of your audience. My email address is danny@steelethoughts.com. Steele spelled with an E. My social media handle is @steelethoughts. Let's see what else. My website is steelethoughts.com. And I've launched a free newsletter. It drops every Sunday morning at 8 Central Time. It's just a little dose of positive energy and inspiration to kind of
Mm-hmm.
fuel folks' tanks. It's probably geared a little bit more towards school leaders, but I certainly have teachers that subscribe. But anybody that subscribes, they'll get a free digital copy of my book, 365 Quotes for Teachers, Motivation for Every Day of the Year.
That's
So
awesome.
you can subscribe through LinkedIn, or there's ways to subscribe on my website. So I'd love to share with your audience that way.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. And my audience knows that I'll have all of that information in the show notes. so they won't have any trouble connecting with you or getting your newsletter. So, Danny, thank you again for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a thrill to be with you. So thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. And for the rest of you, thank you so much for joining me today also. And we will see you back here next time. Bye-bye.